As Real Madrid are your Super Cup winners. A great performance from Ancelotti's side in the second half, which sees them add yet more silverware to that incredible trophy cabinet at the Santiago Bernabeu. This ain't a bad record, is it, when it comes to finals? Out of the last 22 finals that Real Madrid have been in, they've won 20 of them, just losing 2. That was in the Super Cup against Atleti and the Spanish Super Cup against Barcelona in 2023. Someone who really enjoyed that second half is Luis Garcia. We'll be hearing from Luis in a moment. But Ali, this is what you kind of expect, isn't it? When you've got Vinicius Jr., Bellingham and Kylian Mbappe on the pitch at the same time. Some of those plays we saw in the second half were sublime.
Yeah, and beyond the big picture of Real Madrid being automatic and inevitable in finals, and the fact that they're just going to win. If they get to this sort of stage, they're going to win. That's what they are. That's what they do. But how they do it, and while you're right, the first half, forgettable from both. You were seeing even in the first half a few moments in which all of a sudden that combination of Vini, Mbappe, Bellingham, Rodrigo, it was just one pass away, but you could sense it that whenever they were able to press the rhythm of play, whenever they were able to play with a little bit more speed, whenever they were able to push Atalanta, eventually they were going to break through. And in the first goal, you see something that we have seen time and time again, and that's Vini on a 1v1 situation against a defender that stands no chance. And now everybody's paying attention to Mbappe and Bellingham coming into the box, and so therefore you got to leave somebody open, and who do you leave open is Valverde with a tap-in. But the second goal in particular is a combination of all those players that you just mentioned. And so it's one thing to think about on paper, what would this team look like with Mbappe on the field? But another thing to actually be watching the game and listening to the commentary, and then it goes from Rodrigo to Vini to Bellingham to Mbappe to a goal. And that's the reality of this team now. That's the reality of this club, that they have that available. Real Madrid, when these guys actually get used to playing alongside each other and they actually get used to each other's movement, they are going to be scary, scary good.
This is a lot of fun to watch, Stevie.
Yeah, unless you were playing for Atalanta.
Sure, yeah, or Real Madrid's opponents in the future.
Or anybody else watching this who are going to come up against them, because more importantly, the last thing Ali said about if these 4 guys can figure a way out how to play together at the amount of pace that they all have. I mean, scary amount of pace, the front 3, and then got Bellingham coming late. Every single one of them has the ability to win the game on their own as well. But if they can add the little cherry on the top, that they become a unit and can play together, how do you stop them? That's the question.
Luis, obviously there was a bit of rust. You could see it clearly in the first half. This, of course, the first time that these players have all played together. Were you surprised how smooth, how much it clicked then in the second half?
I think in the moment that Jude Bellingham decided to run the show, everything looked a lot more clear. His physicality on the field, his way of seeing football, his football intelligence is ahead of everyone. We were been talking during this past month and a half, that Real Madrid was going probably to struggle in the middle of the park because Toni Kroos is not anymore there. And he was the player who kind of cleared the situation for Real Madrid in the worst moments where they are facing against lines of 2, very packed at the back, very compact noise spaces. But everything is start moving around when you know that up front you go 3-4 players who can have the ball and move around. We've been focusing on what Ancelotti is going to do. He's going to play on the left Vinicius Jr. or Mbappe. But if you see, it's a little bit chaotic in the beginning because everyone was everywhere. I mean, you've seen Rodrigo just dropping as a midfielder. We've seen Vinicius, we've seen Bellingham, we've seen Mbappe. Everyone was just moving around. But in the end, everyone was having a piece of the cake at the front. We've seen Mbappe on the left side, but also Vinicius Jr., but also Rodrigo. In the right side, it was Valverde. So every space on the field was covered by a player. So that's a chaos. But it's managed. It's something that Real Madrid can use, and much more when you got so much quality up front that in the end he was supposed to win the game tonight, and that's what happened.
Talk us through Mbappe's debut, Ali.
Yeah, it was interesting to see what his position was going to be, and it's what we expected it to be, down the middle. But to Luis's point, there was a lot of rotation, a lot of floating around from Rodrigo, from Vini, from Mbappe. And I think what he has to be careful with, Kylian Mbappe, is that because he's trying to fit into this group, that you sort of bypass opportunities that usually you would take on 1v1 situations, that usually you would think Kylian Mbappe isolated, he's taking on the defender. And there was more of that in the second half. But I think what was evident to see is that the more these guys play together, they start to understand each other's strengths and where they want to be, how they appear in this spaces. The point that Luis was making, Jude Bellingham coming from behind, once he breaks that line of pressure because he's able to run away from that pressure, what is the movement then of Kylian Mbappe ahead of that pressure? What is the movement of Vini Jr.? In the goal by Fede Valverde, and I touched upon it earlier, as Kylian Mbappe sort of dropped off to kind of get the cross from Vini Jr., and it is the right move by Kylian Mbappe, we also see how defenders react to Kylian Mbappe being on the field. They all collapse towards Kylian Mbappe. They all collapse towards Jude Bellingham. And that's when, if you are the other guy, in this case, Fede Valverde, you just make a run into the box and you're going to be free. Because everybody's paying attention to Kylian Mbappe. Everybody's paying attention to not Fede Valverde, but to Rodrigo or to Jude Bellingham. The second goal, I think, was really good from Kylian Mbappe. Not just the finish, but the movement. He comes to support Bellingham initially. The defender runs out, sprints out because, well, this is Mbappe. I have to pick up Mbappe. And the moment that he sees the defender run out of position, now he runs in behind that defender into the open space and finishes the chance. I thought, as the view goes, for a player of this magnitude, solid from Mbappe with a goal. I don't think you could have asked for much better.
If Mbappe has the sense to understand that it's not about what happened at his previous clubs, where it seemed like he was taking it on himself because he had to do something. He had to score the goal. Right. He had to make the run. If he can actually take on board that what he has around him and be part of it and not try and be the figurehead, this team will be great anyway. But this could be one of the greatest front lines ever. If this guy can get the right attitude and understand that the parts he's got going on around him will make him even better.
And to that point, Stevie, and I think it's fantastic what you're saying, that less is more.
Yeah.
Less can be more for Kylian Mbappe because he has to do less to produce more. The supporting cast around him is not a supporting cast. This is a team that was winning Champions League last season. You have some of the best players in the world in Vini and Bellingham. And so you have that talent around you. And so therefore, you don't have to do everything. You just have to find good positions like he did in the second goal. And he'll find a lot of tap-ins in many games in La Liga if indeed he's willing to do that.
So Mbappe, 7 out of 10, maybe?
Sure.
I think Jude Bellingham in the second half, 9 out of 10 probably, Stevie. Given the Man of the Match award, as Luis rightly said, it's when he got involved in the game more, when he kind of took the game by the scruff of the neck, he just ran it.
He's a monster. He really is. He's like watching the big kid in the playground bullying everybody because he's bigger, stronger, faster, more ability, you name it. And at this level of the game, the Super Cup, we're talking about the champions of Europe and probably the best team in the world against a great side in Atalanta, and he looks like the big kid bullying everybody in the playground.
Yeah.
That tells you something.
And not just offensively, defensively as well, which I think endears him to his teammates. The fact that he does that part of the job, and he does it in areas in which perhaps Real Madrid can suffer at times. There he is, sliding challenge, butting somebody off the ball, running away from pressure, and here we go. Let's get everybody having some fun going into the attacking half.